Alright, we missed one of these Pathfinder functions at the end of the last video, so I'm going to go back here and show you the exclude option as it applies to the surfer, the board and the fin. So when you have elements that are overlapping one another and you choose the exclude option, what you're doing is creating a hole in the areas that are overlapping. You can prove that that's a hole by placing something underneath, and you can see that it hasn't actually created a shape there where it's white. That's just a negative space, it's a hole. Alright, now we're going to look at pathfinders. In number 1 here we've got 4 shapes and we're going to apply the divide pathfinder. That's this row along the second part of the pathfinder palette or panel. So the very first one is called divide. I'm going to drag my marquee across all 4 of these objects. Notice that they're all different colours, slightly different shades of the one orange. I'm going to select them all, choose divide. If you observe, what you can see is that we have all of a sudden the line to the left of each of these 3 surfboards that were in behind, and when I select the whole thing it seems to be, one actual component. Well, it is, but what's happened is that applying the divide pathfinder option has actually put these elements into one group. So it's split them all up, but it's assuming that you want them to be contained as one group that you can move around together. So to ungroup them, we can go up to Object and Ungroup, or we can choose Shift Command G or Shift Control G if you're on a PC to ungroup them. And then we can move these components apart to see what's happened here. So as you can see, the divide option has split each of these components into their own shape and their own outline. Exercise number 2 is to try out the trim pathfinder. As we click on the trim pathfinder with all of these selected, we're going to notice something different happening. And again, we're going to have to ungroup these elements to see what's happened. Well, first of all, we'll notice that the outline has been removed. So there's no black outline around the edges of these elements anymore. But the other thing that's happened is that it's actually trimmed or cut between each of the overlapping parts to create a brand new shape. Now the next one we're going to try is the merge option. So you'll notice we're starting with 2 orange and 2 paler orange boards, and if I select all of these together and choose merge, it is going to merge the 2 of the same colour together. Now if I ungroup, what do I notice? It has merged the 2 each of the same colour, but it has trimmed between the 2 different colours. Let's have a look at number 4. We're going to create a rectangular marquee around these dotted lines to select all 4 of these boards, which are all slightly different tints of the one colour. We're going to apply the crop this time. Now what happens here is that it will crop into the top level shape. It will crop the shape below the top level shape into the top level shape. So if we ungroup them now, we're going to end up with this random shape that we probably didn't necessarily want, but we may have intended to create this sort of a slice. If, for instance, we'd just chosen these 2 and selected crop, the same thing would have happened. If we'd just chosen these 2 and selected crop, the same thing would have happened. So it will take the object that is one beneath the top and it will crop it inside of the topmost object, leaving you the bits that overlap. And then when you ungroup them, you can delete the bit that you don't need and you're left with the one that you want. If we look next, we've got the outline. Now, as you may expect, this is going to create outlines. You notice that I double clicked this image and I ended up inside isolation mode. Whenever you have a group of objects, if you double click inside them, you will jump inside isolation mode so that you can select any of the individual elements. And if that happens to you and you notice that your screen has suddenly taken on a transparent sort of a appearance, just hit escape to jump out of isolation mode. I'm going to ungroup these objects, but you'll notice that it has no stroke and no fill. It is showing us a really faint outline so we can see it, but really it doesn't have a stroke weight. So I'm going to apply a stroke weight to it of 0.5, and I might increase it to 2 so you can see it more easily. I'm going to move the separate elements apart so you can see what they look like. So this has created outlines over these segments. They're all separate. Alright, option number 6 we have is minus back pathfinder. So, well, we're really just taking everything away that was in behind the very top element and leaving this shape at the top. So you might have several objects that are sitting just below this one. I'll put them in a few different places, and then we'll select them again and see what happens. See how it makes an even more unusual shape? You wouldn't notice that with this exercise naturally, because these other two shapes are not right beneath this one in the foreground, so we have to really have a whole lot of shapes in behind one and then use this to create something completely brand new.